So I wanted to talk about how not all children are innocent, and especially like myself, who was raised with narcissists, sociopath siblings. I know for damn sure that they start exhibiting a lot of those traits of a sociopath by the time they're like sometimes even 3, 4 years old. Um, I think part of growing up with narc siblings really turned me off to the idea of children. Like, I will literally get nauseous and like throw up and leave the room if someone starts talking about like having a baby or children or toddlers or kids. I get triggered. I just hate the idea of like having kids. Like it grosses me out. And I literally will like get up and I don't care if I'm rude. I just walk right out. I think this is also why in my life, like I said, a lot of my closer friends were like child free, and I just don't like to talk about it. I don't like to discuss it. It's not relevant to my life. I never wanted kids to be relevant to my life. I am very outspoken about this, and there's definitely something about the schizoid, autistic spectrum, personality type that has a serious aversion to children. And I think honestly, I just think it's intelligence. I really do. I'm not even kidding. It's just some kind of intelligence that I don't think a lot of people have, and a sensitivity that kind of knows deep down that children are like super annoying. Like, and the thing is, like, narcissists, they literally act like the worst of the worst, kind of like bratty, kids, and they act out like that, like the most misbehaved toddlers, and they love it. They love acting like that. They love being unruly and immature, and like just calling everyone else around them immature when they're basically toddlers. So they project onto other people, but they really heavily identify with kids. They're obsessed with them, and they identify because that's what they are inside. And I think when I was younger, growing up, around like narc siblings, I didn't even like myself as a kid. I just think kids are just fucking annoying. But when I was like growing, and I was really the, super quiet one, didn't say anything, kept to myself in my room, just didn't want any to be around anyone, like the loner kid, and really self-sufficient and independent, and I just didn't want to be around anyone basically. I almost think like right after I don't know, up to a certain age, I just really young, I was just really independent, and I just didn't care to be around a lot of people. But I was basically out on my own by the time I was like 15. So I mean, I'd always been really independent, but um yeah, there's just something about it, like, you see like the evil qualities developing when narcs are super young. Even as children, they start, hurting animals. I've seen this, torturing animals, murdering animals. Yeah, that's more your sociopath, but narcs do it too. They will hurt animals on purpose. They will abuse and hit animals because they're pieces of shit. And they will also, the same like how they do to people, abuse them and harm them, just torture animals. And that's a hallmark, of a sociopath narcissist. That's what they do. Um, that's just what they do. And that's why, like I said, I've always had an aversion to kids. I just don't like being around them. I don't like them. I think they're annoying. And this is pretty much all of them. I don't really make any exceptions. And like I said, part of it could be just being around narc siblings growing up, seeing their psychopathic traits come out when they were very young. We were very young, like 4, 5, 6 years old, just seeing them exhibiting those traits and acting that way. And I was just like, ugh, like, seeing those them develop as narcissists, sociopaths. I've seen sociopaths, develop since infancy. And even like you guys, like even as fucking like infants, like I'm not even kidding, they exhibit qualities of a psychopath. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, infants, babies, like kids, they're not innocent. Like, a lot of them aren't. And I don't know why we keep pushing this narrative in society like they're so innocent and helpless. Like, a lot of them, yeah, helpless, duh, because, like, they can't, like, they're developmentally helpless. But I'm just saying, like, they start to literally um, exhibit qualities of a psychopath, from such a young age. And this is why I'm so glad that I got these schizoid autistic traits, because I never wanted to be nurturing. I am so glad I'm not. Um, I just think, and I don't know. I think that the whole thing is overhyped. Um, anyway, I just think a lot of women who, do that just kind of more so do it to try to keep everyone around them happy. I don't think a lot of it comes naturally a lot of the times. I don't think so. I think a lot of it really is performative, and they're doing it because of like social pressure. Same thing with even having a kid in the first place, social pressure. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't do it. I mean, I can't think of a logical reason to do it. Like, thinking about it purely rationally, can't think of any rational reason why women would ever want to put themselves through that, go through that pain. And it doesn't make any sense to me. All for somebody else, just to please them or society or whatever. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I just think it's stupid, but to each their own. I would never do that, to myself, to my body. Um, but there's women out there that just feel like that's what they gotta do. And I just think to each their own. But personally, I just think, oh, there's no way. And I also think, like, with the schizoid autistic traits, it kind of makes you more like you have so many sensory issues, right, that you want to have that predictability and that control. And when you're talking about relationships, you know, all that crap, um, you know, having a kid or whatever the fuck, marriage, all that, like, those are things that are not under your control, Those are things that have unpredictability and instability and unpredictable outcomes, right? So your personality type, like if you have autistic schizoid traits, like, you want sensible, predictable outcomes, and none of those paths lead to anything predictable. It's all unpredictable and chaotic. What do the narcissists like? They like chaos. They like unpredictability. They like instability. And I think that's why a lot of them go these routes. That, we as a society, it's highly patriarchal, misogynistic. So like marriage and kids are like the be all end all, right? For women especially. So women are more pressured into it than men are, and shamed into being in these shitty situations than men are. So a lot of the times, you know, I like I said, I just think they go these routes because they're not actually stable or predictable, these situations. Now staying single and just doing your own thing and being child free, that's stability. That's predictability. But this other shit, there's nothing predictable about it. Nothing. So I think that's why those kind of lifestyles are a major turnoff to people like myself with the schizoid, autistic, whatever, uh, those kind of traits and personality. Major turnoff, major just like revulsion. I have like a very strong reaction to, like I said, that kind of lifestyle. I find it repulsive. And like I said, if I'm around people, whoever, women even talking about it, or anybody, like, I know it's the norm. I know that's what we push in society, is being normal, and it signals stability. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think it signals instability, but that's just me. We are just seen as like, weird and shamed and stuff. But there's just something in me, like, that, like, that personality type that literally just, it's complete revulsion, and I don't want any parts of it. And I don't think it's cold at all, cold-hearted. I think the narcs, the sociopaths, are the cold-hearted ones, and that's why they do all the shit they do, That's why they just go headfirst impulsively into all these situations and just do it because they feel impulsive in the moment. But people like myself with these personality traits really think things through and decide, no, it's not for me. And also, I think it's because deep down we come across as really detached, but we're actually a lot more sensitive than a lot of people. Internally, it's kind of like buried, but and especially compared to any narcs. Oh yeah, exactly. 100%. They're totally insensitive. That's why, and they don't have those sensory issues. They're really insensitive to everything in life. That's why they can just go through and just do anything and not really think about it, and they're not sensitive to really anything. They're not sensitive to other people. They're not sensitive to themselves. They're not really sensitive to anything. And like I said, that's why they can just go and do all these things and just not think about it and just be impulsive and just make all these decisions that sometimes they're miserable later because they made the wrong decision. And, I think that's why a lot of them do it. I really do. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm upfront with people. Like, with my personality, my traits, I am very bluntly honest with them. It's nothing to be cold or whatever, cold-hearted. But I let them know immediately, I can't be around this shit. I have serious sensory difficulties. Like, I go crazy. Like, hearing all this noise and, babies crying and shit and screaming and all that. Like, I can't do it. I literally will, like, run out of the room. Like, I can't handle it. Like, I can't process that sensory overload shit. Like, when it comes to those kind of, like, irritations that a lot of people can, like, basically block out more easily. Like, I can't do it. That's part of, like, the sensory difficulties is sensory issues is I can't just block that out like a lot of people can. It doesn't bother them. It, like, certain thing, like, it does. Like, it really bothers me. Like, I can't be around it. So all those sensations, like when it comes to, like, people touching you, like, hugging, like kissing, all that crap, like, it's really overwhelming sensorially, and you just feel like kind of disgusted by it. And it's just like, I think it's part of being asexual too. Because a lot of people with autism, and schizoid and all that, like, they're pretty asexual, a lot of them. So I think that also has to do with it. Like, we just literally don't want to be touched. And when you're around kids or you live with somebody or all that, you're going to get all this involuntary, you don't want people touching you, and they're going to be touching you regardless. And that's like, so all those things, right, you guys, relationships, marriage, kids, all that stuff is a total incompatibility with my personality type or anyone else with, like, autism, schizoid. It's a contradiction. How do you say? It's an antithesis, like a contradiction to this particular personality type. Total contradiction. Like, those two things should not mix at all. So yeah, but like I said, it's so overwhelming, and to just even, like, explain it. But yeah, like, being touched, all this unpredictable touching is just so uncomfortable and so just horrible. I don't know. Like, I don't know how some women do it, like the ones that, like, actually live with a guy, or you know because they're gonna be touching her, like, I mean, constantly, unpredictably, like, without consent, obviously. And it just seems like it would be so uncomfortable for somebody, like, with my traits, like, just to be touched randomly. It would feel like total, like, violation. um Also, just that lifestyle, it's just all violation. Like, I think that's what somebody with my traits would see it as. It's just constant violations, sensory violations all around you. And what's kind of funny is growing up around narcs, we all know that their favorite thing to do is bulldoze your boundaries and make fun of your sensitivities. What do they call you, sensitive? And also, they just constantly are intrusive. They intrude on your boundaries. And one thing with schizoid personality is we don't want anyone to feel like they're intruding on our boundaries, right? We feel it's highly intrusive. And that's what narcs and socios do all the time, is they're constantly trying to violate your boundaries and get past your boundaries. And that's their main little, win. That's how they feel like they're winning, and they're conquering everything, is by getting you to compromise your boundaries with them. So, or for them. And it just all is really intrusive. The narcs constantly intrude on your personal space and boundaries. That's what they constantly do. And the thing with Schizoid is we have a serious aversion to people who do shit like that, who try to, like intrude on our space or boundaries. We get really like pissed off and just overwhelmed, and it's just like we can't tolerate it. And that's what they do. They literally live for like just crossing boundaries constantly and getting past boundaries. And people with schizoid and autism, like, who worked on their boundaries, they have pretty damn strong boundaries with people. Like, pretty strong. And they're, I try to be as upfront with people about my boundaries. Like, hey, I don't want to be around that, or I can't do that. Like, that's too much, or whatever, But yeah, I mean, you're just being upfront with people. I wish it was like more of like the norm, but it's not. Like, I guess with like neurotypical people who just do these things, and that's just the life they live. And um but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's like literal hell for people like myself uh to have that kind of lifestyle. It's literally a total like obstruction of our peace of mind. Like, for my peace would be completely disturbed living that lifestyle. Like, every day my peace will be obliterated by living that lifestyle, literally. I would hate it so much. I would hate it so much. And even when I'm around people like I still get like tired of and drained by being just around them, like, for too long. Like, I have to get away. I need space. And that's the thing. That's the thing about this personality type, is we need like a ton of space and serious boundaries. And you really can't have that lifestyle that schizoids need, with space and boundaries. That's antithetical. Is that the word? Antithetical to a lifestyle of having a relationship and kids and all that stuff. This personality is the total antithesis to that. Like, you can't have extremely, boundaries of steel if you're around, small kids. They're gonna constantly be coming and intruding on your boundaries and touching you and all that with their little, like, their sticky hands and gross hands and all that, like, and getting you sick and just touching you and stuff. Like, you can't set strong, like, you know what I'm saying, really strong boundaries with like kids. I mean, and if they're your own kids or whatever, like, you can't just be like, like, don't fucking touch me. And like, how do you do it? You can't. So that's another thing. Like I said, it's the total opposite of what we need, what a personality type like myself needs, which is a ton of, strong boundaries with people, non-intrusiveness, space, distance. That, I mean, that lifestyle, like I said, and the cluster Bs, like my siblings and all that, it's like the complete opposite of their personalities. Like, my personality is the total opposite of theirs. They're clingy, they need to constantly, they need constant attention, constant validation, constant sexual attention, constant, social validation, constant approval, constantly in relationships, constant noise. And I can't tolerate that shit. I can't stand it. Like, this is why I'm saying we're like the complete opposite. We have nothing in common. Like, if you have traits like myself, like, you are literally the complete opposite of a narcissist, of a sociopath. Because, like I said, they need that validation really badly. That's the whole foundation of how they manipulate. They manipulate based off social needs and social validation. That's the core of their manipulation, how they manipulate people. So basically what I'm trying to say is their manipulation only works on people that give a fuck or give a shit about societal approval. And somebody with my personality traits does not care at all. So their manipulation falls off the wayside and doesn't work on somebody like me, but it could work on somebody who, you know, actually cares about what other people think and societal approval and all that. Or somebody who can be shamed and guilted and all that. You know how they like to shame people and guilt them, but that doesn't work on somebody like myself. I can't be shamed or guilted out of my boundaries. No way. If I have a boundary, I stick to it. I don't go back on it. If I have a boundary, you know, that's it. That's all. I said no the first time. I don't need to keep repeating myself. Like, and that's another really shitty thing is like, I feel like women's boundaries are not respected in society like men's are. Like, if we say no one time, it's taken as like a maybe or it could turn into a yes instead of just respecting it as a fucking no the first time. And that's another thing that really pisses me off is we have to fight so hard as women just to get a shred of respect and treated with an ounce of respect in society. Whereas like men by default, they're just given it. Like we have to fight and work so hard, 10 times, 1,000 times harder than they do, just to get like a little sliver of respect, especially respect for our boundaries. So yeah, that does really piss me off. But, you know, we're just not taken seriously. Like when we say literally no, or when we talk like I talk and say like, no, like I'm not fucking interested in, you know, relationships or marriage or kids, and I never was and I never will be. Like we're literally shamed and told by everybody, even other women. I'm told, oh, but you know, you never know, or you might did you not just hear what I just fucking said? Like I literally just said this and I'm dead serious, and they think, oh well, it's just because maybe you were hurt before or like whatever, but literally like this is my personality and I'm like telling you like this is how I really feel and please respect it, and I don't want to have to keep repeating myself over and over again when I just said it the first time. Like I'm not interested. So yeah, it's just kind of annoying, you guys, when you like say thing like you say it and then people don't believe you and they just think that, you know, you're making it up, or they think you're not serious but you're dead serious. That there is not a chance in hell that you have no interest in that kind of lifestyle. You're not interested. You're just not. You know, you have no interest in playing that social game at all. And that is what narcs live off. They live off those social games, those social hierarchies. They live for dating, they live for relationships, they live for constant triangulation, they live for family life, they live for all this shit that represents opportunities to pit people against each other, manipulate all day. Listen, somebody like me with my traits, we don't have time for that shit. Like, I get so annoyed being around groups of people. I get so annoyed being, like, yeah, in a family or whatever the fuck. Because that's actually part of the diagnostic criteria, by the way, for, like, schizoid, is they have no desire to be part of a family. Well, yeah, I do feel that way. But, like, it's just, oh my god, it's like, it's just annoying. Like, you know, these, just not being respected, like, in that way, and, like, yes, this is how I feel. And I'm standing on that. And, like, people try to argue with you all the time. You're not gonna talk me out of anything. No. Who do you think I am? They think they can keep asking, keep talking. No. No. I said no the first time. I'm not gonna keep saying no. So, yeah, you just have to, like, learn how, I mean, you try to put your foot down and tell people to stop. Like, stop talking about it, you know, stop bringing it up, and it's just like, they just keep doing it. And you know, it also sucks. Like it's just like we're constantly surrounded by this bullshit in society, like bombarded with all these like messages in society that like, oh, this is like what you should want. This is a normal way how to live. And I think because honestly, guys, I really think because of that pressure when I was younger and growing up, like that's literally the only reason I probably ever like dated or was with anybody in my life ever was literally because that stupid ass social pressure that I gave into a little bit when I was younger. But I actually didn't want any of that. Like I really didn't. Like if I had just listened to myself and like trusted myself a little bit more at the time, like I do now, I literally wouldn't have gotten involved in any of that stuff because it wouldn't have ever made me, it never made me happy. It never made me like feel fulfilled. It never made me feel comfortable. Um it it was just miserable. Like it was just miserable. Like in this lifestyle like I live now, like I'm totally content. I'm totally good. Like I love it. I wouldn't want it any different. And before it was just constant like pressure, right? To like do things other people do just cuz and it's just it never made me like feel fulfilled or happy. I wouldn't have done any of it. None of it. I wouldn't have like even thought about it had it not been pushed and pushed on you. And then also like living in a society which also really sucks, where like women are constantly sexual over hypersexualized and objectified all the time, sexually objectified, and basically turned into sex objects for male, you know, gaze and pleasure. Like I just think I being constantly bombarded also by that bullshit growing up, it's just and then realizing that like that is obviously not conducive for like asexuals or people who identify like with that, like I don't know, it's just it's just seen like I said as like not, you know, not as like common to be like this in society, but I just think I don't know, I just think it should be like more normalized. I really do, cuz maybe other people feel that way, this same way, but they're just not like going to be out with it or like confident about it. Like I'm really out with it. And I try to be confident about it. Like, yes, I am this way and like what's the problem, you know? I try to be like out with it, just confident in this decision, this lifestyle, which isn't really seen as like I guess the norm, but oh well, you know what I'm saying? Like if it works for me, if I'm content, if I like it, like if I'm like what's the problem? Um So yeah, I just think it's messed up, like the constant shaming of like it just it's just weird too to shame something like that. Like just that kind of lifestyle, like being like asexual, like and not being interested in, you know, relationships and all that. Like if you're just not interested, then you're not fucking interested, you know? So you know what I think part of it is too is I think it's just like guys see it as like, oh, well, this chick here is like depriving one of my imaginary bros or bro friends of potential access to a female body. Like, I really think some of them think that way. And one of them, I'm pretty sure, even told me one time that's what they were thinking. And to me, like, that's just really disgusting. Like, you know, I don't exist literally on this earth, on this planet for like anybody's consumption. Like, you can fuck right off. Like, you know, I'm not here to be consumed by anyone. I'm here to just live and be my own autonomous being. I don't belong to anybody. I'm not anybody's fucking property. I'm not, you know, nobody has any stake or whatever on me. Like, you know, like, back off. Like, you know, that's so creepy. Like, just not being respected, you know, at all as like an individual, just seen as something that's like some kind of resource or commodity or use for society or men, and like that's your only value and purpose, like fuck that shit. I'm gonna exist and do what I need to do, what I want to do, what makes me feel comfortable, and if you have a problem with it, then oh well. Um, but yeah, you guys, when you bring this up like about yourself and that you're like that, I mean, honestly, like if you have like, guy friends or whatever, it's gonna definitely send them running because they know there's not a chance in hell. Especially if you're like, yeah, I'm very serious about it, like you're actually asexual and all this stuff, like they're not gonna stick around. They're gonna be out of there. Oh. Oh my God. So yeah, I definitely think there's probably a lot more like female asexuals than male for obvious reasons, like duh, like for a lot of guys that's like what they think about 24/7 like is sex all the time. Uh, I think for women it's a lot easier, because a lot of our focus is more on relating to people and love and connecting deeply with people. And for a lot of guys, like sometimes a lot of them like don't want that necessarily. A lot of people. Um, and also, yeah, like I mean, for women, for a lot of us, I don't know about the narcs, but we kind of like obviously equated sex with like more emotions and um deep emotions and all this stuff, and it gets complicated, with hormones and all that shit. And um I don't think somebody with like schizoid, traits and all that can get attached very easily, even like through sex. I don't think so. Um Even after that, I don't think it's easy for them to get attached to anybody. I think it's pretty easy for them to be detached the whole time. But I think like they still prefer that, like just being like asexual. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are like that. But I do think it's probably harder for like not as common with guys, but yeah, I just think it's a lot. Another thing too is like stress, the overwhelm of like a lot of stress, it's hard to handle stress really easily, especially with a personality like this, with like schizoid autism, all that. Extremely difficult to handle any kind of stress. So, those kind of things bring sex to I I hold on, I slipped up.